She was young, smart, driven, the kind of person others quietly admired. Maura Murray had a future lined with promise. A former West Point cadet, a dedicated nursing student at UMass, a track star, and a daughter who meant everything to her father. But on a cold Monday night, she stepped into her black satin sedan, headed north into the icy dark, and never came back. Her car would be found later that evening on a quiet stretch of Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire. The engine was still warm. Her belongings were scattered neatly inside. An opened bottle of wine, a box of Franzia, her favorite textbooks, but Maura was nowhere to be found. There were no tire tracks leading away from the car, no footprints in the snow, no signs of a chase, a struggle, or an accident that could explain what happened. She had vanished, so quickly, so completely. It was as if the night had swallowed her whole. In the hours that followed, confusion set in, and in the days that followed, something else took hold. A creeping sense that everything we thought we knew about Maura Murray might not have been the full picture. Was this a young woman running from something? Or towards something? Was it planned? Or had she crossed paths with someone she never should have trusted? For 20 years, her case has refused to rest. No evidence, no confession, no final chapter, but behind the scenes, something was off. People close to her noticed. So did strangers who began connecting the pieces. And now, we trace that trail, from the quiet dorm room she left behind, to the icy road, where the trail went cold. This is the story of Maura Murray, and it begins long before the headlines. Maura Murray was the kind of person who seemed to be moving forward, quiet, focused, high-achieving. From a distance, her life looked mapped out. She was on track to become a nurse, enrolled at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. After a brief and competitive stint at West Point, she ran track. She made the dean's list. She kept mostly to herself, but those who knew her called her loyal, gentle, unusually bright. Her father, Fred, was proud. He called her his star. And in many ways, she was. But in the final weeks before she disappeared, small fractures began to show. Patterns that at the time might have seemed unrelated, ordinary even, but taken together, they paint a far more complicated portrait. On the evening of February 7th, just 2 days before she vanished, Maura borrowed her father's Toyota Corolla. She crashed it around 3:30 in the morning, not far from campus. The cause? Still unclear. She told police she took a turn too fast. There were no charges. But what was she doing driving alone at that hour? The next day, she seemed distant, distracted. Then came a moment that still puzzles those who've tried to piece this story together. While working her security shift at the Melville dorms that night, Maura received a phone call around 1 a.m. No one knows exactly who was on the other end. What is known is that after the call ended, Maura broke down in tears. A supervisor who found her said she appeared completely zoned out. When asked what was wrong, she simply said, "My sister." But later, her sister Kathleen would say she hadn't spoken with Maura that night. So who called? What was said? And why did it shake her so deeply? Soon after, Maura began looking up information online, things that didn't fit the day-to-day pattern of a college student prepping for classes. She searched for directions to Burlington, Vermont, then for rental cabins in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. Isolated places, rural, remote, and then, without explanation, she reached out to her professors and told them she'd be missing class for the week due to a death in the family. That wasn't true. There had been no such death. It was a lie. But why? On paper, these events don't look like the beginning of a mystery. They look like a life drifting off course, gently but unmistakably. But when placed side by side, an unexplained car accident, a cryptic late-night phone call, sudden online searches for mountain getaways, and a fabricated family emergency, what starts to emerge as a pattern? Something was shifting in Maura's world, quietly, behind the surface, whether it was a crisis she was planning to escape or a force she was trying to outrun. We still don't know. But whatever it was, Maura kept it to herself, and just 48 hours later, she would vanish. What happened after Maura Murray vanished is, in many ways, just as baffling as the moments that led up to it. Police arrived at the crash site along Route 112 at 7:46 p.m., less than 20 minutes after a local bus driver reported seeing her. In that narrow window of time, Maura had disappeared. No one heard her scream. No one saw where she went. No one, not the neighbors, not the police, not even the dogs, could say which direction she took. There were no fresh footprints in the snow leading away from the scene. The only visible path was gone. And from that moment forward, silence. Her black Saturn sedan was still running when the driver stopped. The airbags had deployed. Her windshield was cracked. But what was inside raised even more questions than what was missing. The car was locked. A box of wine had spilled in the back seat. On the front seat sat an open bottle, partially consumed. Her textbooks were stacked. Her printed directions were neatly folded. Her favorite stuffed animal, a gift from childhood, was placed on the rear shelf. There were signs Maura had intended to go somewhere, but no sign of where or why. And outside, the car? Nothing. The ground was frozen. The sky had gone dark. The temperature had dropped. And Maura, somehow, was gone without a trace. When her father, Fred Murray, arrived the next day, he was met not with urgency, but with resistance. Authorities treated the situation like a case of a young woman taking time away. Maybe she ran off. Maybe she was upset. Maybe she'd be back. But Fred didn't believe that, not for a second. From the very beginning, he insisted something was wrong, deeply wrong. He called the media. He passed out flyers. He retraced the snowy stretch of road over and over again, searching for answers. Cadaver dogs tracked a scent, briefly, about 100 yards east from the crash site. Then nothing. Just like that. It stopped, as if Maura had vanished into thin air, or been picked up. The next clue came not from the ground, but from what had been left behind. Why had she brought alcohol, but no gloves, no hat, no winter coat? Why email her professors about a fabricated family death? Why drive all the way into rural New Hampshire, a place with no confirmed connections, no friends waiting, no real plan? And perhaps most disturbing of all, why has no one seen her? Not a single person, not one credible sighting in more than 20 years. No CCTV footage, no phone records, no financial transactions. Her bank accounts frozen, her cell phone silent. Every possible lead ended in silence. Maura's case quickly became a vacuum, one where theories filled the space left by evidence. And the deeper people looked, the stranger the story became. But the one constant, a father's voice, growing louder, more desperate, more determined. Fred Murray refused to let her name be forgotten. But for investigators, the question remained the same. Was this the story of a young woman trying to leave something behind? Or did someone make sure she never had the chance to come back? In the years since Maura Murray vanished, the search for answers has only grown louder. Forums, podcasts, documentaries, everyone has a theory, but none have brought us closer to the truth. Some believe she left willingly, that the pressure she carried, the accident with her father's car, the unknown phone call that left her in tears, the secrets no one fully understood, may have led her to abandon everything. According to this idea, Maura planned to start over, a new life, a new identity. But how does someone walk away from family, friends, and the life they've built without a single trace? Others suspect something darker: the alcohol in the car, the confusion around her destination, the way her scent disappeared just steps from the road. They say she may have walked into the woods and never come back. Some suggest it was intentional, that she'd reached a breaking point no one saw, coming But even then, where is she? Why has no body ever been found? Then there's the idea that she never had the chance to decide her fate, that someone picked her up before police arrived, a stranger, or perhaps someone she knew, an abduction, executed in the narrow window between the crash and the offices. A rival. It would explain the silence, the dead ends, the absence of even a single confirmed sighting in 2 decades. In rural areas like Haverhill, that kind of vanishing act is rare, but not impossible. Some go further, pointing to a history of disappearances along the same stretch of road, suggesting there may have been a predator in the area, a pattern that no one fully noticed until it was too late. And then there are whispers, online threads and message boards of sightings years later. A woman who looked like Maura in a remote Canadian town. A mysterious call received by a relative. None of them confirmed, none of them reliable, but they keep the fire burning. Her father, Fred Murray, never believed she walked away on her own. He says she was heading somewhere with a purpose, and someone stopped her from getting there. No matter how the pieces are arranged, the puzzle doesn't quite fit. 20 years later, we're left with nothing concrete. Just speculation, shadow, and a chilling truth. Maura Murray stepped into the night, and the world never saw her again. 2 decades have passed. 20 years since a young woman left her college dorm, drove north without clear reason, and vanished on the side of a quiet rural road. No suspect, no crime scene, no closure. In 2023, with public interest still burning, the FBI and New Hampshire State Police reopened parts of the investigation. This time, technology had advanced. Ground-penetrating radar was used to scan a concrete basement on a nearby property, an area long rumored to hold buried secrets. Cadaver dogs had once signaled there. Soil samples were taken. Suspicion grew. For a moment, hope stirred, but once again, nothing. The area was excavated. Nothing matched. No remains, no evidence tying it to Maura. Another lead dead end. Her father, Fred Murray, now older, grayer, but no less determined, has spent the better part of 2 decades searching. He's appeared on every major network, walked those snowy roads himself, knocked on doors, hired private investigators, begged law enforcement to stay involved. Year after year, he returns to the scene. Not as a man who believes, but as one who refuses to forget. Someone knows, he says, and someone out there is still staying quiet. In the years since Maura disappeared, the case has become a fixture in internet true crime communities. Reddit threads reach thousands of comments. Podcasts dedicate entire seasons to her story. Some dive into the timelines minute by minute, analyzing Maura's last known phone records. Others study the photos from the crash, zoom in, enhance, speculate. There's even a phrase in the online true crime world: you don't find Maura Murray. Maura Murray finds you. Her case pulls people in, and it doesn't let go. But what's often forgotten is that this was a real person, a daughter, a sister, a friend, not just a case number or a cold file on a screen. Every February 9th, strangers leave flowers on the side of Route 112 near the curve where her Saturn was found. A soft memorial, quiet, simple, just like the town where she vanished. The roadside cross is still there. So is the silence. Maura's family has held out hope, but they live with a difficult truth. There may never be an answer, not one that makes sense, not one that brings peace, and that's the cruelty of a disappearance like this. No goodbye, no certainty, just a blank space where a life used to be. It's been over 7,000 days since Maura was last seen. Thousands of hours of search time, hundreds of interviews, dozens of theories, and yet no closer to the truth than we were the night she vanished. Bright student, a young life with so much ahead, a car by the side of the road, and then nothing. Just the cold, just the questions, just the silence. What do you think happened to Maura Murray that night? Was she running? Was someone chasing her? Or did something darker unfold in the cold silence of Route 112? Leave your thoughts and theories in the comments below. And if you want to help keep Maura's story alive, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. 20 years, and still, no trace, no confirmed sighting, no final phone call, no witness brave enough or willing to step forward. Maura Murray walked out of her life and into the shadows of that cold February night, and was never seen again. Now, it's your turn to ask the question, what really happened on Route 112? Was Maura trying to escape something no one else could see? Did a stranger stop under the cover of darkness and change everything? Or was her disappearance part of something even more hidden? Something that's remained buried beneath silence, secrecy, and time? If you've followed this case, if you've wondered like so many others, your voice matters. Leave your thoughts, your theories, and your questions in the comments below. Even the smallest observation has the power to spark new thinking and new hope. And if Maura's story moved you, share this video. Send it to someone who believes that answers still matter. That truth, no matter how long it takes, is still worth fighting for, because behind the headlines, behind the rumors, behind the mystery, was a real person. Maura deserves to be remembered, and someone somewhere knows something. Let's keep asking. Let's keep searching. Let's not forget. Thanks for following this case on Dark Trail Files. We upload deep dive true crime stories every single day. Hit the like button, subscribe, and follow the trail, because some truths refuse to stay buried.